The enterprise tier. So how do you package for enterprise customers? Most packaging at the end of it sort of have an enterprise tier that's just like banged on to the right. So usually it'd be something like basic, pro, enterprise, advanced, pro, enterprise, whatever it is, and then you end up with an enterprise. It also might be sort of, leads, sales, enterprise, depending on how you do packaging. So the enterprise tier is sort of a special thing. And I think that most people sort of they have an intuition around what actually makes an enterprise tier. And I want to sort of clarify a few things that I feel sort of really sort of help sell enterprise tier and how you actually monetize them really, really well. So I think the bad version of having an enterprise tier is to say, hey, our product does something. Maybe your product helps sales, or it helps marketing, or it helps HR, it helps compliance, or whatever it is, so supply chain management. And then you're basically saying, hey, the enterprise customers are like the large customers that have like really specialized use cases and understand value. So all the special sales features, HR features, supply chain features, whatever we have, should be in the enterprise tier. I think that's wrong. They should be in your tier right next to the enterprise tier. Because usually what happens in some sort of value-based or outcome-based packaging is that you have sort of a different way to sort of structure where you solve a specific outcome, a job to be done for your customer in the first package, and then you solve a specific outcome, a job to be done in the second package, and maybe you have like multiple tiers over here. But basically each new package solves a new distinct job. And then enterprise itself is a job. So I usually say enterprise is a job to be done. And the job to be done that you do in the enterprise tier is that you solve for buying whatever the product is in a large organization, right? So we had a customer recently that did something for distribution centers that make distribution centers run better, right? So we basically have something like, oh, we're gonna just like do sort of like basic operational stuff here, then we're gonna do like optimization of operational stuff here, and then now we're gonna sell it to someone with a lot of distribution centers. So we're gonna say, hey, enterprise is where you do all the features that have to do with security, excess security, compliance, governance, and then I would say gated usage. Meaning, hey, if I run distribution centers in 10 states, maybe each of the states actually have multiple distribution centers, and then I want each state to basically have their own dashboard, and I want sort of advanced roles and permissions so that users only can access systems within their own net of distribution centers. So you have like an umbrella or pyramid structure where you have something at the top where the headquarters CFO can sort of look at it, and then each of the local sort of finance directors can sort of look at their part of the organization and so forth. So you have gated usage. You have governance, meaning that everything is on audit trails. You can do sort of the necessary reporting. Everything sort of works inside of the software. Compliance is you're compliant, and the solution sort of works at these levels. You can report on the compliance, and then the security sort of is there to match as well. It doesn't mean that you don't have security, compliance, governance, and some sort of gated uses elsewhere. It just means that the part that is required for large organizations, sort of enterprise organizations, to use your solution, whether your solution has to do with sales or HR or supply chain or whatever, then the fact that some companies are so large that they need to have a certain set of features and a certain approach before they can even start to use a piece of software effectively. So that is what the enterprise tier should solve for. And that also means that you actually get to have all the value out here where you say, hey, this is all our new fancy AI features for supply chain or sales. They're actually sold here in the advanced tier or whatever, or this other module. And that's sort of where we do it. But the large organization feature pack, you get in the enterprise tier. So I think with this way, you're actually separating the different value propositions. You're saying, hey, we're just selling you your large over here, and over there in the rest of the package, we're selling you whatever the product actually does. And those are two separate things, and you can then price them separately. So one trick that we sometimes do is that we actually have sort of the main line of the product here. Let's say you do supply chain, so basically do supply chain A, B, and C, and then we actually push, and then we say enterprise now comes down here as an add-on. So that means that all of this up here actually goes away. It is just pushed down there to that other bit. Because what that allows us to do is like if you do supply chain A here, and you do supply chain B, and you do supply chain C, then people can do A plus E. So this actually allows you to sell relatively simple solutions to large customers. And then you can sell more advanced solutions to large customers. And then of course you can sell your most advanced solutions to large customers. But if you put the enterprise tier at the end, right, this combination, very simple solution per large customer, isn't available because they need to sort of upgrade through B first. So by putting enterprise down here as an add-on, you can actually have this functionality where you can have very large, very simple accounts. And some markets are just sort of structured in that way, where you say, hey, some of the largest accounts in the marketplace are actually the least sophisticated. So if you have this sort of play where the way our market works is that the small guys are moving really fast, and they're actually the ones that really want the advanced features because they're growing and they get it. And the old like legacy accounts that are mega large, they actually don't get it, and they're just beginning the journey of the product. So we actually need this combination where they're buying sort of just the first like entry-level product functionality, but they also need to be sold like the big fancy functionality for being large organizations with all the security, compliance, governance, and gated usage features. So then enterprise can function as an add-on. So I think it's usually one of these two versions. And of course, this functions also in a modular packaging or in a platform packaging and so forth. So these are basically the two versions that we package for enterprise. So one is to have it as a dedicated job to be done. You do it in both ways. Either you put it on the end of like a tiered structure with ascension or expansion in, or you put it down as an add-on and then they get to buy it down there. I hope this makes sense for you. If you're packaging for enterprise tier, do it this way.